What's up guys, Manic Mercurian here, and in this video I'm just going to cover the general astrology for the week of Monday, August 9th through Sunday, August 15th, 2021. And this is something I'm considering doing every week, so if you like this type of thing, come back on Monday, August 16th, because I'm considering uploading these every Monday. So let's begin. And I'm sorry, this is my second take, let me go back. Okay, so we are starting on August 8th. Why am I doing that, might you ask? Because this is not concerning the week that I'm covering. Well, it actually does concern the week that I'm covering here. August 8th was such a big deal. There was so much going on there that I just need to cover it in order for you to understand what's happening on the week of the 9th through the 15th. So on the 8th, and I talked about this in my last video, there was that new moon in Leo right here. And what was significant about that was that it was coinciding with Lionsgate, with August 8th. In other words, with the day in the middle of summer. In other words, with the day right smack dab in the middle between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. But not only that, this new moon was quincunxing Neptune on one side, quincunxing Pluto on the other side, roughly. And Neptune and Pluto are making a sextile to one another. So this is a Yod aspect. It's called the finger of God sometimes because they say it's like God giving you the finger, because it creates this very problematic situation that has no answer, and yet it's bittersweet somehow because of that sextile. So there's that clashing with the two quincunxes. Quincunxes, you're mixing such different energies that they can't compromise. If they were to compromise, then either one or both of the energies will be dissatisfied, if you want to think about it that way. So new moon in Leo mixing with Pluto and Capricorn, how do you integrate both of those? The answer is you pretty much can't. They're just too different. Leo is fixed fire. It's the middle of summer. It's a yang polarity. Capricorn is cardinal earth. It's the beginning of winter. It's of the yin polarity. They have nothing in common. They're a different element, different mode, different season, different polarity. Only with quincunxing signs do you get nothing in common like that whatsoever. There's no shared context. There's just nothing in common. So there's just no relatability there. There's no way to integrate both. So you have that with one side, but you have that times two, because you also have that with Neptune and Pisces. Same thing with Pisces. Pisces is mutable water. It's the end of winter. It's of the yin polarity. Again, it has nothing in common with Leo. No shared element, mode, season, polarity, etc. So you have that times two, but then you've got the very harmonious sextile between Neptune and Pluto. So it's this situation which is problematic and weird and awkward and maybe even annoying, something just weird and unexpected that comes up that there's just no answer to. There's nothing to do about it, but there's something, there's a silver lining. There's something bittersweet about it. And to be honest, when I've experienced these, you just experience it and just observe it, and it will pass. Everything will pass. Astrology teaches us that because the planets are always moving. So again, there's just no answer. The Virgo in me wants to find an answer for this or give you some advice. My advice would be just to observe it, and just observe it, because it is interesting. If you can just step back and observe it. I don't know if I already said this, but this is my favorite aspect because it's the most bizarre, basically. So if you could just observe these kind of weird situations that are developing in your life around the 8th, that's what I'd recommend. And if they are uncomfortable, just don't worry, because they will pass. And they'll pass rather rapidly because, Pluto and Neptune, they aren't going anywhere. They're extremely slow. But on this side, the point of this aspect with Sun, Moon, and Mercury, for that matter, these are all, relatively fast. They're the fastest moving bodies, on this chart. So not to fear. They will be moving out of here, especially Mercury and the Moon, very quickly. But why am I talking about that? So the reason why is because on the 9th, these two cycles, the lunar cycle with the moon passing the sun has just begun on the 8th, but also the Mercury solar cycle has just begun as well. It's a new moon, but it's also a new Mercury, if you want to think about it that way. So the 9th, things are just sort of like blooming, or not even maybe quite yet blooming, but the seeds have been planted and there are some humble, quiet beginnings. And they might not only be humble, quiet beginnings, but they might be humble, quiet, awkward, problematic, bittersweet beginnings because of that yod energy that manifested into the beginning of those cycles. Are you with me? Are you following me? I feel like you're following me. So it's difficult to describe. There's so many adjectives I could use, but as we start out the week on Monday the 9th, I think there are some hints. There's like some subtle hints at some kind of weird situations or themes that are developing in our lives that are just, everything I just described. They're awkward and problematic and weird, but there's something bittersweet or like laughable about it all. There's something, you can definitely laugh at the absurdity of it. There's something just very strange beginning on August 8th, and we might get some strong hints of that on August 9th. So that's why I delved into the previous day. Other than that, we've got Moon entering Virgo. So Moon is, beginning that lunar cycle. It's entering Virgo, joining Mars and Venus. And so just in general, there's a lot to unpack here. So something I'd recommend is like anything productive, like Virgo type activities. With Venus, Mars, and Moon there, our focus will be there since the Moon is there from Monday, August 9th through Wednesday, August 11th. Sorry, I had to look it up. So our focus will be there since the Moon will be transiting Venus, but since the Moon will be transiting Virgo, it'll be transiting across Venus as well for that matter. But Venus is in Virgo, making those, more mundane chores more endurable or maybe even pleasant. And Mars is there making them more productive. And so basically what I'm saying is not only is the focus going to be on Virgo type activities, so, taking care of your money or your resources or cleaning or, I don't know, getting organized, all those kind of mundane chores that we have to do will be extra enjoyable, or less unpleasant with Venus there, more productive with Mars there, and our focus is going to be there Monday through Wednesday of this week. So I'd highly suggest, taking advantage of that and maybe taking care of some things that you've been putting off, or something of that nature. You can still have fun with Sun and Mercury in Leo. We're still having a good time, but I think it's a nice balance between the Virgo and the Leo energies. And one other thing I wanted to mention, so if we just go back a few days to the 6th, everything is very spread out, right? There's almost one planet or node or whatever. There's almost one thing per sign other than these fall signs here. But if you go forward back to Monday, August 9th, now there's a different pattern emerging where there's this cluster of planets all in Virgo and at the end of Leo, all the inner planets, so Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And they're all sort of opposing and quincunxing most of the outer planets in the winter signs. So Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Neptune in Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So there's this sort of cluster of outer planets here, all the outer planets except Uranus and Taurus. So cluster of outer planets here, cluster of inner planets here. Especially this one is very tight. So what does that mean? So the inner planets represent our individuality and our personal lives. It's how we are personally experiencing things. It's the short term. Like, so how is life going for you? Not like your year or your decade, but how's your day going? How's your month going? It's this short term personal stuff. All the outer planets are representing the long term and more expanded abstract themes like society and the world and political events, politics, world events. And so with these being all sort of opposing and quincunxing the inner planets, I would interpret that as our own personal lives being sort of disconnected to, or they're on a different page than world events. So maybe for just this brief episode here for the next maybe month or so, our lives won't be as directly impacted by these historical, political events or whatever you want to call it, like the economy or politics or, world events. We're kind of just doing our own thing now, which I really like because I just think Leo and Virgo are more fun and immediately productive energies. Not trying to favor one side, but they're just more like enjoyable, I guess, if you could say. So us personally, we're just kind of maybe enjoying ourselves more, focusing on ourselves, being productive. these outer planet energies are all in the winter signs, so they're more stoic. They're more stoic and they're more about preparing for the future in a sort of non-physical way. The winter signs are all about dreaming. And so the outer planets are all in this dream world. So the longer phase is a winter phase right now that we're experiencing. So it's alluding to the coming spring where a lot of a lot of stuff is going to go down later in this decade. But right as for now, it's maybe stoic and maybe challenging. Winter is, we're experiencing this, decade long winter or multiple long winter, but personally and for the short term, we're in summer, if that makes sense. So I don't know, hopefully I explained that accurately, but I'm going to move on now. One other aspect on Monday the 9th is Venus opposing Neptune, and I talked about this in a lot of detail on the last video, but I'll repeat myself a little bit again. My take on combining any energies in the Virgo and Pisces axis, especially Neptune, this really has to do with your health, not only your physical health, but also your mental or emotional health. And you gotta integrate. I stress that a lot, and I practice what I preach. You have to find some kind of activity. Everyone, I don't care who you are, everyone has to have some kind of like hobby or activity that they do that they can just kind of like relax and decompress. I know it might be hard to have time for things like that, depending on your lifestyle, the way your life is. But there's got to be something. I mean, there has to be something that interests you. If you're making something with your hands, creating something, or going on a walk, going on a run, working out, I don't know, doing anything creative or artistic, or writing, reading, listening to music, even just sitting on a porch would be perfect, and just doing nothing. Do something that relaxes your mind, calms your mind, that you can integrate, because that's what Virgo and Pisces are all about. And with Venus being involved, I think this could be enjoyable, but it could also be confusing and mentally, emotionally destabilizing with Neptune involved. So let's see here. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on it. Could also, a different interpretation could be that Venus rules abundance, right? And being in Virgo is a sign of like resources and money to some extent. And it's opposing Neptune in Pisces. So there could be like confusion. It might be easy to underestimate or overestimate your funds at this time on Monday, August 9th. So let's see here. And Venus ultimately is bringing abundance to those areas, the areas of organization and resources and funds, are all being blessed by Venus. But then there's this sort of harsh aspect with confusing, misleading Neptune and Pisces. And so, I don't know, there could just be some kind of confusion there. Let's move forward to August 10th. And that was, the rest of this video should be short because that's the most of the action there. But definitely stay tuned. There's definitely stuff happening. It's just that there's a lot of complicated themes going on Sunday and Monday that I had to explain. Okay, let's go forward. August 10th, Tuesday, August 10th. We've got Mercury opposing Jupiter. So Mercury, in this chart, it's at 27 degrees, but it is flying right now. So it'll quickly be at 28 degrees of Leo and opposing Jupiter at 28 degrees Aquarius. And so this is sort of interesting that Jupiter has just recently entered Aquarius again, going retrograde, and Mercury is on its way out of Leo. And so they're sort of, it's just kind of interesting when planets aspect each other right, as close to a cusp as these are. But let's see here. Really, I don't view this as a very harsh aspect at all, because Mercury and Jupiter are almost in harmony at harsh aspects. Why? Because, well, they rule mutable signs, so they are adaptable. They're both about learning and experiencing something new and something different. They're both about expansion, sort of. I mean, Mercury's sort of about refinement, but both very much enjoy or suggest for us to experience other ways of being, learn about other ways of being, other things. Both energies would would suggest to us that we should, have interesting dynamic conversations, maybe with people that don't always agree with us, stuff like that. It's about the mixing and the connecting of different ideas and energies. And so both being that open-minded, and then coming to a clash like that really don't clash at all. I think they're actually very natural that way. And so really I wouldn't worry about this. It could be a good day for learning. It could be a good day for branching between the subjective and the objective. Mercury in Leo is more focused about our family and ourselves and our close friends more so. It's very subjective. It's very personal to ourselves. It's very local. And it's making this opposition a sort of clashing connection to Jupiter in Aquarius, which is more expansive and it's more about society and it's more objective and maybe more focused on the future and not so much the present. And so what does this mean? So the thinking and the mental energy and the daily habits could become, I think they would allow us to branch into something new and maybe to learn something or talk to people that we wouldn't normally talk to, because there's something to learn from everyone. You can, I don't know, it'd be a good day for learning, branching out, connecting people, connecting ideas. A different interpretation would be Jupiter, planet of expansion, is making this connection with Mercury, which is in Leo, which is a very expansive, fiery sign. And being so close to the end of Leo, things could be a little bit intense, maybe. The mental energy and the daily habits, daily routine could be a little bit, maybe very active and a little bit karmic, just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of activity. So we might be very energetic, but that can be tiresome for sure, because it could be draining. So maybe just a lot going on in general right now. Moving forward to August 11th, got Mercury entering Virgo later in the day, and maybe much later in the day. There it goes, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Mercury enters Virgo, which is nice, right? Because Mercury's exalted and in domicile in Virgo. So it's nice when planets are in domicile. It's, I also enjoy when planets are in detriment, and there's something to be said about every position. But as for planets being in domicile, it is nice because things are easier. Things are more natural. We feel more human. We feel more ourselves. Things feel less foreign, less awkward. So it's just nice when things are easy, right? It's definitely worth experiencing. It's nothing to complain about. But it's not just Mercury that's in domicile here. The Sun is in domicile in Leo. Mercury's in domicile, not Venus. Well, I guess we have Saturn and Neptune in domicile as well. And pretty soon Venus will also be in Libra. So this is starting a pattern where we'll have multiple, especially the Sun, Mercury, and soon Venus, having all those in domicile at the same time will be nice. It'll be kind of a break. It'll just be nice. It'll be fun. It'll be productive. We'll be especially effective during that time. Sun in Leo means our egos will be strong. We'll be confident. Mercury in Virgo means that we'll be more organized. We'll be more analytical. We'll be, more intelligent maybe. But then soon, next week, Venus going into Libra will also be more diplomatic, more socially graceful. What else? We'll accept abundance more readily. So yeah, that stuff's really great. It's really just nice and easy, good time. It's a fun time when we have a lot of planets in domicile like that. So definitely part of a nice pattern there. And again, even though the moon on this day, on Tuesday the 10th, Wednesday the 11th, the moon is leaving Virgo and entering Libra, but still, you still have Venus, Mars, and now Mercury all in Virgo. So yeah, I would take advantage of that. Again, if you're doing any kind of chores, but especially with Mercury there, if you're doing anything that requires cranial capacity, that especially if it's a chore that you've been putting off, but that it's something that you need to really think about, like, I don't know, making some kind of plan or like budgeting or something like that. I don't know, something like that. Hopefully you could think of something. But again, not only would you be more capable of doing that with Mercury there, also it would be maybe more enjoyable with Venus and more productive with Mars all in Virgo. So good time to do Virgo type activities. Moon entering Libra again, so that brings some harmony to things, especially with the sun being in Leo. So the moon is gaining light. It's waxing on, waxing on, waxing on, wax on, wax off. It's waxing on right now, so it's gaining light. It's getting farther away from the sun. So it's a crescent moon right now on August 11th, and that's just always, it's typically a pleasant day because you have moon sextiling Venus. I mean, excuse me, I keep doing this, I'm so sorry. You have moon sextiling the sun, so that should be real nice. Leo and Libra blend very well together to make for a peaceful and productive day with all the Virgo stuff. So August 11th looks like a nice day for sure. Looks maybe a little bit less intense than, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are a little bit more intense with, those planets at the end of Leo and, that stuff we talked about. I do like it on Wednesday the 11th for sure. Things get a lot more harmonious with moon entering Libra and Mercury entering Virgo. Basically, both of those I think are much more suitable. With moon is very peaceful and harmonious in Libra. It does very well there. Moon does well in the Venus ruled signs. Especially sextiling the sun. It's beautiful. Mercury and domicile and exalted, beautiful. So that's a good time. And a couple minor aspects. We've got Mars at 8 degrees Virgo making a T-square with the nodes. You can't see the south node here, but the nodes are at 7 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius. And so Mars is halfway through, these nodes. It's halfway between the north node and the south node. What that means is just a turning point. So there's a turning point with Mars related to Virgo stuff. So what does that mean? Well, Mars is, masculinity. It's very ambitious. So maybe there's some kind of ambitious goal that you've been, really wanting to achieve that would, especially if it would make you have a feeling of achievement, if you would gain power or money from it. That's what Mars is all about. Something that you personally desire. If it's a competitive goal, there could be a turning point with anything related to that with the Mars energy. And it's in Virgo, so maybe it's a competitive goal at work. Or, I don't know, that's the main thing I could think of. Even if it's just a goal with yourself that you're trying to beat, you're trying to improve, you're trying to get a promotion, or you're just working hard on some project. Mars also rules sexuality, so there could be some kind of turning point sexually in your sex life somehow, being in Virgo. Being in Virgo, though, that's interesting. Virgo usually keeps the sexuality under wraps, so maybe it would be a little bit more subtle or nuanced if it is having to do with that sort of thing. But the most literal interpretation I could see is that there's a turning point with some kind of challenge or goal that you've been working on at work. Just in general for everyone, something like that. So, and we're all experiencing this, so we might all be a little bit more competitive at work, or there might be some kind of change to dynamics related to that type of thing around August 11th. One more aspect on August 11th, we have Venus at 24, 25 degrees Virgo. It was at 24 degrees Virgo earlier on this day. And it's trining Venus. Venus is trining Pluto at 24 degrees Capricorn. So there's this Earth trine, which is sort of nice. And Venus is still opposing Neptune as well. Okay, so Venus is still blessing all those Virgo archetypes, but then trining Pluto. So, Venus and Virgo are both more short-term energies, but making that trine with Pluto and Capricorn, I almost can't think of a more long-term oriented placement than Pluto and Capricorn. So Pluto making that trine, I think that would mean maybe some really, really long-term financial gains for us. It shouldn't be a super big deal because it's Venus we're talking about. Venus makes a trine to Pluto twice a year, roughly speaking. So not a crazy, super big deal, but maybe some long-term gains coming from this dynamic. Pluto also rules destruction, and you've got Neptune, which rules confusion and sometimes loss. Pluto can rule loss too. So both of these planets are sort of affecting Venus. So I don't know, things just seem kind of muddled with the resources and with abundance, and There's a lot of different interpretations for this. So things are muddled, but there's still that beauty or that sweetness or that abundance with these Virgo archetypes. And so, I would still just come back to what I've been saying, that it might be a good time to tackle that project you've been neglecting or whatever, something more mundane that might be better right now. And it might have really long-term results, but it might also be a little bit confusing. So there's that. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Honestly, there's not a lot of aspects for the week, but I'll definitely cover everything briefly. So Thursday, August 12th, Moon is transiting Libra. Again, I said this is very beautiful. And on August 12th, it will make that exact sextile with the Sun. Actually, I believe it may be early August 13th, but beautiful dynamic there for sure. Again, Moon is in Libra. It's very easygoing. It's more of an old soul energy, actually, and not a lot of people know that Moon in Libra is very sort of old soul energy related. And mixing that with the Sun in Leo, it's it's a good time. I think especially socially dynamics might be very pleasant. And I think there's a wide range of things we could do at that time. Socializing would be really good, just enjoying yourself, but also being productive would be good with all this Virgo stuff. It seems very well balanced to me between, Sun and Leo, Moon and Libra, Mercury, Venus, and Mars and Virgo. I do think that's a nice balance. It might be too overwhelming with so many Virgo planets if it was more than these three. But then you've got the Sun in a very different sign of Leo and Moon in a very different sign of Libra, kind of balancing things and making it a bit lighter. These Leo and Libra energies are lightening things up, lightening up the mood, and allowing us to have, a fun or relaxing time as well, in addition to being productive at this time. So in short, do whatever you want to do, because it just looks like a pretty casual, light day. It looks nice. I don't know. I dig it. Moving forward, August 13th, the Moon does enter Scorpio, which is a little bit different. So this is actually a much different dynamic. Keep in mind, it's the Moon we're talking about. So we're just talking about things on a daily pace here, not super long-term shifts. But the Moon in Scorpio does mark a distinct change for two reasons. It's the sign and the aspect that it's making to the Sun. So Moon is much more harmonious, much more chill, easygoing, light in Libra. It's much more heavy in Scorpio. It's in fall in Scorpio. So the Moon isn't necessarily comfortable there. It's not our normal Moon. It doesn't behave as it normally would. So it's in the very heavy and almost sort of masculine dominant sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is water, so it's yin, but it's also ruled by Mars. And so it does have that sort of masculine yang dominant edge to it. And just in general, we're gearing up for the first quarter moon in Scorpio. And for this whole transit where we have the Moon in Scorpio and the Sun in Leo, I think this is a very masculine or yang dominant dynamic, not only because of the first quarter square, which is very irritable and restless and anxious, and we're going to be wanting to get out there and do something and be active, but also the Sun is in domicile in Leo, so it's very strong, and the Sun is very much a planet of masculinity, of the yang polarity, and the Moon, being of the yin polarity, is very weakened in Scorpio, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars. So again, you've got that more dominant, assertive influence with Scorpio as well as with Leo. And so things go from being very harmonious, with Moon and Libra sextiling Sun and Leo, to being more ambitious and assertive and aggressive, and maybe a little bit more on the selfish side. We're all kind of looking out for ourselves rather than, it's like Moon in Scorpio isn't so much about making compromises like Moon in Libra would, especially when you're clashing the Moon in Scorpio with the Sun in Leo. So it's a much more fiery, aggressive dynamic, I guess you could say, with Moon entering Scorpio. And that's the main thing I see there. Let me just take a look just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Venus has left the opposition with Neptune at this point, or it is, in the process of doing that. And for that matter, it's approaching the end of Virgo. So just like I said, it's, it will be entering Libra soon. Wrapping things up in Virgo, and that's the gist of what I see. Let's move forward to August 14th. Saturday, August 14th, the Moon is transiting Scorpio all day. Here you can see it's opposing Uranus. So there may be something very unpredictable there. I mean, not only because the Moon is opposing Uranus, but the moon is also in the sign of Uranus's exaltation. And Scorpio is very unpredictable and can be, what's the word? Unpredictable. It can dramatically start something new that wouldn't be expected, if that makes sense. And especially opposing Uranus. This is the polarity of things that support us physically or, financially, with Uranus in Taurus, or at least Taurus. And then Scorpio is things that support us emotionally or maybe non-physically. So moon opposing Uranus, there could be some kind of fluctuation with stock market, with the economics, things that we value could dramatically change. Also, our emotional state could dramatically change at this time. It could be very intense. We might be more stubborn than we otherwise would, especially with this T-square with the sun in Leo. And you could even include Jupiter. Well, that's a bit of a stretch. Jupiter or Saturn in Aquarius. But, there's sort of these clashing energies from the fixed signs. There's a bit of a T-square with sun in Leo. So the fixed signs coming together, it's, the fixed signs don't compromise so much. They're stubborn. And so clashing together like this can be a lot of friction there. There can be things happening unpredictably that are at odds with one another. And again, you've got all that aggressive, ambitious energy of moon in Scorpio clashing with sun in Leo. And then that's incorporating with this very unpredictable energy of Uranus in Taurus. So it's like a good day for earthquakes to happen on August 14th, whether literally or otherwise. Moving forward, August 15th, Sunday. Finally, we have the first quarter moon in Scorpio. So let's go back a few hours. Moon in Scorpio at 23 degrees, making that first quarter square to sun in Leo at 23 degrees. And, excuse me, so sorry. So this is really where we're going to see something really, in a very dramatic way, sort of being birthed into the world, or it's already been, that's not really a good example. Let's go back to the seeds being planted on August 8th. Okay, those seeds are now sprouting and they're growing like crazy, like wildfire. I'm doing double metaphors here, but these saplings are sprouting up and they are demanding space now. There's something new that has begun that is really shaping its own identity, that's really fully active in this world. It's almost like a puberty stage. It's like at this sort of rambunctious stage of entering the world, or maybe it's like turning 18. It's really entering the world fully at this time, if that makes sense. So something began on August 8th in a maybe subtle way, but now it's really, it really has its own shape now and is really coming into our lives. And on first quarter moons, we feel very restless, very active. You have to do something. The answer is to do something. Do something. So be productive, or I don't know, just be doing something. It's just not a good day for relaxing. If you're going to try to relax, you're going to be stressed. You're going to be thinking about all these things you have to do. Or especially, I always say this, like children or animals, like pets, are always up at this time. They're up late at night. People might be up late at night also, for that matter. So it's not going to be a good day to try to relax. It's going to be a better day to be productive, especially with, this being such a yang dominant configuration, in my opinion, with moon in Scorpio and sun in Leo. Both of those are very active, very fiery. They have a lot of energy. Both are also very creative. They want to create something. They want to, they're very much about self-expression. And so, utilize that. If you are a creative person, I think you could be very creative. It might be uncomfortable. You might feel like I'm just picturing someone being annoyed and irritable, but like using this gritty energy inside of themselves to create this like beautiful work of art at this time. And I know that's a very specific comparison or metaphor, but you can use that gritty energy as motivation. Basically, that's what this is all about with the first quarter moon, especially with these energies. It's going to feel gritty and maybe slightly irritable, but if you're being productive and you're actually doing something, like especially very physically, that's how you can utilize this most effectively. All right, I pretty much covered that. And first quarter moon. The moon also actually enters Sagittarius on this day. So we have the first quarter moon in Scorpio. And later that day, I think much later in the evening, depending on where you are, very late Sunday, August 15th, or very early in the morning, or, just right around midnight Sunday night, you have moon entering Sagittarius as well. And again, now things become more harmonious because the moon it's a waxing gibbous moon, and it's about to trine the sun. And so it's in a more agreeable energy to the sun again. It's in a fire sign, just like the sun is. And so things are going to be more fiery, more expansive, especially with Venus is right at the end of Virgo. It's almost in Libra. So there's going to be a little bit more of a yang dominant, a dominance there with the luminaries and fire signs, and Venus about to be in Libra, which is an air sign. Things are going to get a little bit lighter, especially now that pretty soon we won't have 3 planets in Virgo. So that was it. That was August 9th through 15th, or I went into the 16th slightly. So I know that was a bit of a train wreck. I'm sorry, but yeah, hopefully that helps. So if I were to summarize it, I would say the main thing is what I talked about at the beginning of the video. Something is beginning, some kind of like challenging, problematic, but bittersweet situation that doesn't really have an answer is sort of just beginning and coming from the void, and like beginning to take the first baby steps into taking shape at the beginning of this week on the 8th and the 9th, and it's coming into full fruition, or not full fruition, but it's coming into this crisis point by the next weekend of the 15th and 16th. So, and the 14th as well. So, yeah, that should be interesting. Again, if this is all a manifestation of that yod in a way, then I think my advice would still stand, and I would say just observe it and just enjoy it. Maybe it's a good time to be a little bit detached right now, because if there is this challenging, weird situation that has no answer and you're trying to fix it, you'll just go crazy. So it'd be better to just observe it and do your best and forget the rest, right? I got that from Nadia Shah. Anyway, that was my take on what's happening this week. So I hope you enjoyed that. At any rate, thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.